everyone, Ivy League Gaming here, and today we're playing Watcher of Realms, and I'm finally joined with Mabucket. Hey!
Hello, thank you so much for having me. Been a long time coming.
Yes, so originally we had planned like a few weeks ago, but power outages and other stuffs kind of threw that out of kilter, and literally right before we started, my power went out again, so I don't know, the universe is not being nice to me. But for today's video, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna talk about Watcher of Realms compared to all these other crazy games we played. And of course, we're gonna do a collab over on his channel too. And that'll be another topic, so make sure you watch both. But yeah, let's get rolling. I'm super excited to talk about this. I think it's gonna be fun because these all the games copy each other, right? At the end of the day.
Sure, yeah. I'm really interested to hear as well because I haven't got as much exposure to a lot of especially the big ones like you. So I'm really interested to hear exactly the more minute details I just don't know about.
So your experience with gaming, where does your gacha gaming start? Like, I know you played Dragonair, but what did you do before that? All right, guys, and spoiler alert, I'm gonna have my account up. So if you haven't watched my summonings from pulling for the 10 times event, you have been warned. Go watch those first. They're pretty crazy, actually. All right, now we'll continue.
Yeah, I think my first proper dip into gacha was Summoner's War about 7 years ago, 6 years ago, I want to say. And that was
Okay.
the big one for me. I played it for like a year and a half, and I kind of bounced around like little games that never released. Like there was Might and Magic Elemental Guardians I played for a bit, and there were a few other little ones that never really seemed to get anywhere. And then I dabbled in Raid, but not a great deal. But yeah, this is after Summoners War. This is the next big one that I played for a long time.
All right, so yeah, you also you played Eternal Evolution and Dragonair,
Briefly,
like
yeah.
I have, right? At least a little bit.
Yeah, I played about a week of Eternal Evolution, and I mean, maybe 2 or 3 weeks of Eternal Evolution, and then perhaps a couple of weeks of Dragonair. If I don't feel like it's going to grip me, then I'll stop because my assumption is if it doesn't grab you in the first week, it's not going to in a month, right?
That's
So
very
I'm very
true.
picky.
I'm the opposite. I get super into it instantly, and then I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. And then usually a month in, you kind of get the feeling of, is this going to stick or not? For me, it takes me a month or 2 or 3 to hate the game. Usually I like everything at first, and then
That's cool though. That's cool. I
yeah.
envy that. It must be so nice to just enjoy. I'm so cynical. I start a game. I'm like, where are they going to screw me? It's coming up. I just don't know where.
Yeah, I think the more we play these games, the more that is the truth.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
for sure.
realizing that we just have to accept our fate and that it is what it is in this industry. So, speaking of these games, we're going to do a lot of comparisons to these games. We're going to talk especially Raid Shadow Legends because that's the big one that most of our communities come from. Like you said, he didn't play a ton of Raid, but a lot of your fan base, a lot of your followers, I mean, like they all have, right?
Absolutely. So many massive amounts of people saying I've come from Raid. I have quit Raid for this, or a lot of comparisons to Raid, and I don't have a good enough on knowledge to really comment a lot on that. So it'll be interesting to hear.
Raid Shadow Legends and all of these games we talked about, honestly. Graphics. That's probably the first topic of comparison. And I have to admit, when I very first saw this game, it looked a little cheesy just looking at the characters. Some, maybe just the ones I saw. But it honestly surprised me. Like, once I got into it, I was like, this is gorgeous. Like, the characters are beautiful. The cinematic videos, I wish every legendary
Yeah,
had.
I love it. Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's I think for me, Raid has pretty good graphics, but I feel like it's because it's such a longer legacy game at this point. There's a difference between the newer ones and the older ones, whereas Watcher of
That's
Realms is a bit
true.
newer, so it feels like there's a bit more consistency across the heroes.
Yeah, if you look at the original characters, they look pretty boring compared to like the new was like the Sylvan Watcher faction is gorgeous and they have this beautiful background and everything else is just kind of flat and cheesy and nowhere near as interesting for sure. But these like it still has the dark fantasy vibes. So that's one thing too. The style of graphics. It's not just good graphics, like the characters are beautiful and there's cool cinematics. It's the style. People like that dark fantasy vibe. A lot of the us Western folks, we don't like the anime stuff most of the time. And it's
Yeah,
like such a completely different audience, right?
Yeah, I found it really interesting because for me, I'm happy with either as long as it's clean. I quite like it, but there's definitely a really big divide in the gacha sphere of people who like the dark fantasy, the more semi-realistic stuff, and people who really like the more anime vibe. And there isn't a lot of good competition for the realistic graphics. I think what we've got Raid, Dragonair, and Watcher of Realms, and there's probably some I'm not aware of.
Yeah,
But
it's all very sudden. It's like Dragonair, Watcher, and King Arthur are the new could be
yeah,
raid competitors, sort of, kind of, at least attract the same audience. And but before that, there's been just nothing. I mean, Awaken Chaos Sarah is pretty nice actually, but still a bit cartoony compared to Raid. And then even like Infinite Magic Raid is pretty much a Raid copy, but the graphics are totally different, and you definitely wouldn't consider them good compared to like Raid's nice art style. But this
yeah,
is
sure.
truly one of the better ones, I think, for sure.
Yeah, I think there's something satisfying about pulling a character that you actually think looks cool. So
Yes.
although it's obviously surface level, I think it does have a really big impact. So I'm a big fan of it.
Speaking of pulling characters, the summoning system is something we definitely need to talk about. So,
Yeah.
I think Raid Shadow Legends is going to be the comparison for this too, because it's literally like copy. Um, we have 200 summons on what the raid equivalent is of Ancient Shards to start the pity counter, and then it goes up by 5% from there, and then you're guaranteed a legendary at 220 technically, unless you get really, really, really unlucky. Now, this to some people sounds like a lot. What do you think? Compared to some of the stuff you play, is it a lot or are you used to it? Did it surprise
For
you?
me, I think it's entirely in the context of how many summons you get.
True.
So if you compare it to Dragonair, the pity was lower, the rate was higher, but the summons you got was very minimal, right?
Yeah,
So
very
for me, I
true.
feel like there's a good amount of summons in Watcher of Realms. I don't know almost any free to play account that's truly got no legendaries.
Yeah, I don't think that's possible unless they just don't play.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, I don't get. I've seen some people say I have 500 summons and no legendaries. I think, well,
Not
that's
possible.
yeah, that's not. I'm pretty sure that's not the case. But yeah, the only one I played before for a long term was Summoners War way back, and it was brutal. Then it was like a month for your first legendary. So I think my scale is probably slightly off for what the modern gacha is. So for me, it's generous. I consider it to be quite generous.
Yeah, for me it's normal because it's the same as raid. Just like I showed, the sacred shards are the same as their legendary crystals. 12 is where the pity starts, and then it's 2% from up from there.
So it's just completely identical.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
literally
Okay.
identical. Yeah. The only difference what I like about this is we have somewhat of a pity tracker, right? You can keep track of your summons. It makes it easy to know how many you've done, at least for the sake of the lower tier. And you can I just spreadsheet it and write down what number I got a character at so I can keep track and roll from there. But Raid has never had any sort of pity counter. I know so many people just ask for that. That's one thing I've definitely loved. I think it was Infinite Magic Raid and maybe Awaken Chaos Sarah actually literally tell you when you're guaranteed a legendary. It's not a question, it's just there, it tells you. I really
Feels
like
like it
that
shouldn't be too hard,
transparency.
right? Yeah, it
Yeah.
wins a lot of faith for the community. A minor tidbit from today. I don't know if you caught the dev talk today, but they actually they had a question from the community whether or not they were going to add a pity timer, and they did say multiple times that they would be. So hopefully they add a proper pity
Oh.
count for us.
Yeah, I guess maybe there just should be something here. It's like you've accumulated 846, and maybe number 4 says your last legendary was at, or like, there's one more
Yeah,
point
exactly.
that's like your next legendary is guaranteed at, or I don't know, something. Just one more. It's obviously counting. It obviously can figure it out. So it is weird because it's like we have so many Raid Shadow Legends has all these things that kind of give the game quality of life, like RSL Helper, like it's a mod kind of thing, or like Hell Hades Optimizer tool to gear
Oh right,
heroes.
yeah, yeah.
There's all these things that make playing the game easier and more and fun, I guess too, and more efficient. But I feel like this has a little bit of a balance to where there's okay multi battles, there's a decent speed, you get 3.5 times speed for that, and then there's at least somewhat of a pity counter. I feel like this kind of blends where I don't need those fancy tools to have fun with this so
Yeah, they're
far.
part of the way there at least.
Well, while we're here on this, I think the other topic would be fusions. So in Raid Shadow Legends, there is a permanent fusion, Razin. You can only fuse him once, and you have to fuse him for the progress missions. So there is Abomination, who's a permanent fusion. There's no rush to do it. Is he required in the hero's path to fuse, or no?
No, not at all. Even I haven't fused him still. I finished my hero's path this morning, I think. Yeah, right this morning. So you don't need to fuse him at all. And I think it's quite nice. They only added him fairly recently. I think it was a month, 2 months ago on the Forerunner server they added him. So hopefully they add more, because I was quite surprised that they chose him here. We were somewhat pessimistically expecting it to be Shamir or something like that, but Abomination is actually quite a good one.
Yeah, he's actually quite good. And you can only fuse him once, but you can fuse the epics as many times as you want, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, so this is nice. I mean, so in this game, duplicates are used for awakenings to make the character better. Raid, it's kind of similar, but you don't get extra skills, just stats. So at least if you're trying to get a specific awakening for a character, one of these characters, you can make it happen.
Yeah, for sure. So one thing I wanted to ask, on Raid, I've heard this thing of like monthly fusion events. Like there's really quite a lot of fusion events, but I've heard people say it's a bit heavy. Like is it too taxing, or is it a good thing? Is it too much?
Yeah, so like it's just like a soul day. Well, sort of. So all right, we have her here. You can this is the next thing. Yeah, temporary events is just like what Raid has for fusions. But the difference with the summoning calendar for Raid, let me pull up this one. Where is it? What? If they keep moving it, I swear. Okay, so in Raid, there's only enough, like barely, to get one hero by doing everything, usually. Everything. Like there's no... This is 75 only, and there's plenty of excess. Where Raid is very hard on people for their fusions, you have to do everything, which includes if you don't summon, you can't get the hero. Which kind of that adds in the pay-to-win aspect and the like frustrating side for people to really need to save their summons for fusions or they won't get the next fusion. That's a different element.
Are these legendary heroes, and are they limited in that only during that event?
Yeah, they're always temporary, but I mean, they're released into the pool after the fusion, so you can pull them normally afterward. Every once in a while they've done an epic fusion, but so far they've kind of sucked and been kind of... It's weird. It's not really great, but so what happens with those? It's kind of like the Abomination fusion. It's not always. Sometimes it's just fragments. Sometimes it's you have to summon epics, or you have to get the epics, and then you get the legendary, all as part of the same fusion event. So you can choose to only go for the epics or also go for the legendary.
That's interesting. Yeah, so Watch of Realms is just straight up copying it then. So we haven't seen it yet on Global, but they do the same thing, where there are legendaries that are limited and only available to fuse, and it's actually very hard to fuse them. But the difference is they don't actually get added to the summon pool afterwards.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So well, no, sometimes they do. So Azhor was the first one. He was a fusion event. Everyone fused him. Everyone was disappointed, and he became a storage guardian. And then eventually he was added to the pool. Yeah, poor Azhor. But then they added Celine over Christmas, and she's still not been added to the summon pool, I believe. And right now on the Forerunner server, there is another fusion event with an epic hero you have to fuse 4 of to then fuse 1 legendary. And I guess she's not going to be added to the pool. The epic is in the pool, but the legendary isn't, I believe. So it sounds like exactly the same.
I don't know about other games. I know Awaken Chaos Era added in fusions when after I had stopped playing. But did Summoner's War have that sort of thing, or was that like maybe not when you played?
It's a good question. I'm trying to think. I don't think there was when I played, but I'm pretty sure they added it.
Maybe now.
Summoner's War had a lot of default legendary heroes that you could fuse. So it was never really... There was always like really good legendaries you could get by fusing them. But I don't remember the specific events. I'm pretty certain they added them though.
Okay. Yeah, Summoner's War is kind of the OG. Like Raid copied Summoner's War, and everything else copies Raid and Summoner's War.
It's interesting. It's like a waterfall of features.
Yup. Yeah, this is kind of... So, when it comes to the events now, the events kind of tie in with the summon events. Have you experienced with the Forerunner server the summoning events to be very consistent? Like in Raid, we always know there's going to be like a 2-week gap, and then another summon, a 2-week gap, another summon. Like there's a pretty consistent schedule with Raid.
Yeah.
Is it?
So it's interesting for me because on the Forerunner server, the whole time I played since October-ish of 2022, it was 2 times, then 10 times, then 2 times, then 10 times, and that was it into perpetuity. But now on the global server, we started with a 10x and a 2x, and then we had
It
what
was a
would we
hot
have? We had
mess.
a 2x, and then afterwards, oh no, and we had a 1+1 randomly,
The
and then
surprise
now
one.
we've got a 10x that starts on Thursday, and then a 2x that starts
Thursday.
on Friday, which is we didn't have any of that on Forerunner. It was just rotating the two.
Kind of hard to predict what they're gonna do because they're already kind of throwing things off kilter.
Yeah, they're just not following what we had at all.
Okay, it's interesting for sure. Overall, especially for someone that's not a spender, with these fusions, with these summon events, I think I'd still tell people to play the Wait Shadow Legends, Waiters of Realms, I don't even know. kind of game. Where like saving your resources to make sure, like, okay, a Brave Conquest is coming up. Don't blast all your gold, well, not Brave, Tales of the Smith. Don't blast all your gold, save some to level up. Like, if you know what's coming, it ends up being a pretty consistent schedule, no?
I really don't like it, though, honestly. It's my least favorite thing about I want to just do the thing. Like, summoning's fun. Let me summon. So I find it a bit of a pain, but I think it stopped bothering me on Forerunner once I got to quite late game, and it didn't really matter then. But I think when you're starting and you want to just do stuff when you want to do it, it's kind of annoying.
Yeah, you know what? I think Eternal Evolution did not have any event. That's one of the only games I think I've played that did not have events. There just was no events. Like, any reason to save, except for summon events. But I mean, like, there's no reason to wait to upgrade your gear. There's no reason to wait to upgrade heroes. Like, in this game, not even just summoning, everything is very much like Raid or Infinite Magic Raid or Awakened Chaos Era, where there is times to take advantage of doing all those resourceful things in game. And if you don't spend, or if you don't play lightly and always have some extra stamina rolling around, you're just blast through your stamina and you will never be able to complete events if you don't wait for them. I kind of like the waiting game. I kind of like it. I don't know. I like it because it makes me focus on just a little bit at a time. And then when I'm done, I'm done. I feel like it's less stress that way, because otherwise I just want to blast everything and I don't know which thing to focus on, because I'm like, okay, I need to level up my new character. Oh, but wait, the promotion event is tomorrow, so I'm not going to do that till tomorrow. But first, let me go level up my gear instead. Like, I try to plan what I'm working on my account based around events, so it helps me to not feel like I don't know what to do. There's too many things to do. What should I do first? It kind of forces me to wait and slow down.
Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. I think for me, I'll just tunnel vision. Like, I want to progress this one particular thing, and so I want to, build gear for it, level them up, farm whatever I need to get that one thing going, like Gear Raid 2 or a guild boss team. So I don't want to have to wait until the end of the week to do the thing I want to do to make that team stronger.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's not too bad to miss events.
Honestly, I think I learned patience too much so because of starting to play like Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, because those games have no PvP. You're not racing anybody, there's no leaderboards, there's no one to compete with except yourself. So if you want to grind for 12 hours a day, you can grind for 12 hours a day. If you want to barely log in, you can barely log in, or not at all. It's not going to kill you. So I think I had this crazy mindset when I first started playing Genshin, that I like, what do I do? There's like a million quests, there's a million things to explore. Oh my god, it's so overwhelming. But everyone's like, what are you talking about? Like, stop, just do what you feel like. And so I think that kind of taught me to it made me slow down. So I think the idea of kind of slowing down and enjoying a more chill play style of like, all right, this is the only thing that's happening today. That's all I'm gonna do today. That's it. That's it. Or in between times, that's where you take the time to be like, all right, let's cleanse all this gear. Do I still have some purple shit lying around? Yep, I do. Let's delete it. Let's check my stats. Like, this is the time to do those oddball things that are annoying to do on an account. Like, I'm out of stamina. Okay, that's fine. I'll wait until I have more and do other stuff in the meantime.
I think it's an interesting point as well. You mentioned the stress of trying to progress really fast. Something I noticed, at least for me, there's a different vibe between the global server and the Forerunner server. I think because the Forerunner server's been up for so long, everyone's a bit more laid back with things. But on
Hmm.
global, there's this huge push. Everyone was like, "Am I far enough for since global release? Am I behind? Am I doing this? Am I doing that?" But it didn't feel that way on the Forerunner server. But on global, there's a lot of pressure people seem to feel to make sure they're doing enough.
Yeah, like my guild is already hitting Nightmare 4, and I'm like, how the fuck? I'm not there yet. I'll get there. I was like, you can boo me. Yeah, I'll demote myself. It's fine. A whale can take my spot.
It's also, yeah, you need the right heroes as well. Like guild
Yeah,
boss is so heavily focused, and especially on Forerunner as well. We had a lot of players who only focused on the guild boss, and they ignored gear raids and everything else, like how high
that's
your score
true.
was. But I think
Yeah,
it's only one part, so it's good to progress elsewhere.
yeah, for sure. That's one of these days. I'll catch up and not have the smallest PP. No, just kidding. In Raid, it's called player power, so we always joke about PP
Oh, okay.
size.
All right, I
So
didn't get
I'll
that. I just
probably
thought
call it PP instead of BP. I'm like, I need to make my PP bigger, guys.
they should rename it. I prefer that name.
Speaking of which, I was just actually on Guild Boss, so why don't I go back here? Guild Boss. So this is very similar to Raid, and I don't know, it's a little bit different than most of the other, like, Eternal Evolution and guild system is totally different with their bosses. There's all these fun, completely different mechanic bosses, which makes it really interesting, actually.
I love that.
But
Yeah.
this is just like a Raid, where it's like you just have one boss and then it increases difficulty pretty much. It's like a little bit harder. It just takes longer to kill it. But is there really much? So this one's actually two different bosses, sort of. But I have to admit, when I just pushed through, I didn't even notice. Are their skills different? Everything seems the same timing wise.
No, I think it's basically the same. It's the same timings, the same abilities, the same shield. It's just higher stats, really. So there is a second one planned, but for the time being, yeah, it's just a dragon that breathes fire on you.
And then I guess this is a lot like Raid, where you have every difficulty has a chest of a percentage drop certain things. I have to say the one thing I really don't like with the way the chests work in Guild Boss in this game is the fact that you can get a blue chest with the lowest possible resources at the
Yeah.
highest level boss. What's the point? Like, I feel like that should be okay. If you're getting reward 1, sure. But if you're getting reward 5, there should be nothing that's like shit rewards. That's the whole point of doing 5.
Yeah, it's interesting as well. On the Forerunner, we're all hitting 30k plus on Nightmare 4, and then sometimes you'll just get the bottom chest, even though you've hit
Ugh.
like the highest you can possibly hit.
Because it shows
But
up blue even there too, right? It's like a rare
yeah, it's
chest. Ugh.
here's some rubbish. But I guess it's a daily reward, so I don't know how. Is it better in Raid, the rewards you can get from this?
I don't know. I think this has more diverse, interesting rewards than what Raid does. What Raid has, but so it's a little bit of a different setup. It's like you're never gonna get one like all bad. You know, it's like, but you're never. It's not like every single chest you're getting a sacred shard for a summon either.
They used to give better rewards as well, but they kept slowly nerfing it and changing it.
Oh,
So a lot of players got quite upset because we used to get basically a huge stamina potion every day and 200 diamonds every day, like guaranteed. And now it's kind of slowly phased out, and we're getting some like lots of rubbish, to be fair. But,
okay.
yeah, it's not great. It's the legendary Sage Soulstone is the cherry on top that everyone really wants to get that you never really get. I've had 3 on my Forerunner account in about 10 months. So
I like the guild system, I guess you could say, in Dragonair because it was totally different. It was super weird. It was like you go into this little world and you pick which thing you want to fight and you have to take out a tower. Like, it just felt so different. So I kind of like that it was different. But I feel like most of the games seem to have this sort of general setup, right?
yeah, it's easily copied, I guess. It's just a format at this point.
Basic
I
ass
think Dragonair
boss.
was great for that, right? They really tried to break the mold and they really tried to do things differently, which I guess in the end was somewhat their downfall, but it's still not released yet, so those things are going to change, I guess.
And I do think it's important to talk about guilds because it's like one of the most important things to, especially the raid community. So many people just really value that community and that guild system, the having a cluster where you all work together and that feeling of, yeah, just like knowing that there's going to be some sort of guild wars eventually or something to do that's community based. I know that the raid community always seemed to not like the games I played that had like nothing to do for a guild or that had. I've played some stuff like Honkai Star Rail and Genshin are no guilds either, so there's no like that's a little less involved. But I think people really value the community aspect.
Honestly, it's the reason I play gachas, to be honest. The reason I
Yeah.
enjoyed Summoners more so much was when Guild versus Guild got introduced. I was like 9 months into the game, and I was in this guild full of Danish guys that were all super chill. They had like standard, 9 to 5 jobs, and after work, we'd all get together and plan how we were going to fight in the next Guild versus Guild. I loved that. That was so much fun. So I've always been chasing that high again. I want that experience again.
Nice. Yeah, I really liked the clan versus clan tournaments in Raid. I have to admit, I really liked them. I thought it was fun. It was super exciting when it came down to the last minutes and you're blasting all your resources all at once. You're going crazy, crazy, crazy. Although that made it the ultimate. In Raid, the way it was set up, it was like whoever uses the most legendary books or pops all their fragment champions at once. Because in Raid, you would just hold on to your fragment champions and pop them when you want to. And those were points for the clan versus clan. So you would just blast all your points in the last 10 minutes and hope that you could snipe the first place from the other guilds. But it was exciting. Like, it's annoying and exciting at the same time. Because, like, you'd work really, really hard and feel like you did good. And then all of a sudden, because your clan is half asleep, you're screwed. Like, the Americans are always screwed because the timing was great for Europe and really bad for America.
So one thing I've heard, but I'm not sure if it's clan boss or if it's clan versus clan, but I think it's clan boss, but I've heard it's incredibly time consuming. Like, you have to just be checking it all the time, or...
Well, the clan boss keys, like, if some people kind of hacked the game, I guess, they had fun and made these, like, endless comps that can maximize the turn counts and take an hour for one key.
Wow.
But they just added instant finish clan boss. That's a brand new feature that I'm aware of. It's just been added. As long as you have one keyed, the boss, whatever that is, like just with one attempt, you can get the top chest. Then you can instant skip and just be done with clan boss now.
So it's no longer playing for hours on end. You can just get it done.
Yeah, it literally would take people hours. It's crazy. Or like even the other comps that I had, like that weren't as fancy, some of them are slower to get that one key damage. So you might still sit there and, you're waiting for 20 minutes, 30 minutes for your key to finish. And you can't, there's no minimizing it and doing other stuff in the background. You just gotta wait. And then, of course, it was also the system where I love in Dragonair, the Vortex boss, you can test. You can not accept the key. Dragonair does that so well. Yeah, but in Raid, if, like, you fuck it up and you fails, then you gotta, like, you're just stuck with it, too. Like, this, you're stuck with it. I hate that you're stuck with it here. That's something I wish that they didn't have.
The one that gets me in this one is a very specific detail here, but a warning for players or you guys watching. If you use Dolores, her ultimate has a 50% chance to come off, like to get more rage sooner. And if you awaken it to 5, it's like an 80% chance, right? So you'll do your guild boss run, and then when you're doing it, it's a great run, everything goes perfectly, you get a great score, you break the shields, and then you auto it the next day and it fails and you get like killed on the second shield and you get rubbish rewards, and you're wondering what went wrong. It's because the Dolores proc chance didn't proc on your auto run, and it just completely screwed your auto.
Really? I didn't even know that could happen with the auto runs. I thought auto runs were guaranteed. They're not?
It guarantees the exact timings of what you do, but not the RNG.
Oh shit, I didn't know that. I thought it was just guaranteed your blood drops.
No, I wish. But yeah, it caught me so many times. You'd like make a new team set up, you time everything perfectly, but you don't realize that you're relying on that proc. It's such a pain.
Oh. Yeah, well, luckily my only one I'm autoing so far, I'm way over, and it's easy. I'm just doing like Nightmare 1 is super easy right now, so that's fine, but I haven't autoed Nightmare 2 yet. Maybe I'll have to make sure. You want to be comfortable before you start doing the auto then. You want to make sure you're solid.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Nightmare 4 is the one that takes a long time, like very long time to get a comfortable auto. Like
yeah,
ages.
I could imagine. All right, so I think gear is a pretty big topic that I'll try to go through a little bit quicker, though, because there's so much you could talk about. And one thing I have to say, this game, I guess, like Raid, it does have sets, and it has different set bonuses, pairing things to, in this it's 2 or 3 for a set. And it does allow for a decent variety of customizing your character. I think that's something people really value in, like, especially from the Raid type community, is being able to really custom build your character, trying different builds, getting creative. Where I've played other games, like some of the anime ones, like Eversoul, that it's just like, this is what this gear is made for that person, that is what it is. There's no customization on gear. So is that something you really like in a game too? Do you like that ability to customize a hero and test different builds and see what's going to be best?
Yeah, it's a good question, actually. It's something I actually complain a lot about on this game. So, something I've been ribbing the devs for a while is I think DPS are just too linear. You need attack, you need crit rate, you need crit damage, and then afterwards you want to pick up some attack speed. But it's very templatey, and even the subs, the sets, a lot of the sets are just, you can calculate them and work out which is the best set. So there isn't that much kind of in between test. And there's some, but it's not a lot. So it feels like there is a definitive best build, which I think is a bit bland. So I think this game doesn't have the resistance and accuracy system of Raid, for example. So I assume that adds quite a lot of depth, right?
That adds huge, because some things like cannot be resisted, or other things it's like for Arena, you want high resist to resist their debuffs that they're going to throw at you, or you need really, really, really crazy high accuracy to strip some annoying buff that they have. So that, and it makes you build characters so differently depending on what you're doing. What'd you say?
So even the speed as well, speed tuning your team and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, speed. I didn't even think about speed. What's speed? But that's different. That's turn-based. This is not a turn-based game at the end of the day. So this is more like Eternal Evolution or Dragonair, where it's constant attacks, but you can control the ultimates.
Yeah, I just mean though that without speed, it simplifies it, right? Because you've got the speed tuning and you've got all the accuracy and resistance, but here you just do damage.
I mean, you have rage regen, I guess that can play a role, but it's like seeing if that's more valuable than having more damage. Like it's gonna, I think raid is kind of linear when it comes to damage. It's just like, yeah, they can be based on HP or defense or attack, but either way, if your damage, it's crit rate, crit damage, period, along with that. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, the only thing would be, like maybe other games like Eternal Evolution, where there's like, Luke has true damage, so you wouldn't build him with crit rate if you do true damage, like I'm guessing. That's kind of like Nocturne has like a true damage type thing, right? I guess that's the same thing. Real damage.
Real damage. Yeah, no idea what that is, but
that's
I'm sure.
true. That might actually, sometimes it can still crit. Some of the games specify this cannot crit after that, but this doesn't say that, so maybe it can still crit. Oh, I was kind of assuming it couldn't crit, but that just means true damage just means that it. Okay.
When the damage number comes up, there'll be like a little strike thingy, so you can see if it crits based on that. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't even consider that actually.
Yeah, most of the games I've played that have anything that's like true damage, you can't crit with true damage, but it's really, true damage is just ignoring defense stats against your enemy's defense. It just doesn't take that into consideration. It's doing pure damage, right? Is that kind of like that here?
Yeah.
So, all right, so you think the gear system could use a little work as far as variety. That's fair.
Basically, yeah, I think pretty much. I've pestered them, but it's hard to figure that out.
I guess there's just not a lot of creativity with the sets. Like in Raid, I mean, there is at least ignored defense type stuff, I guess. But there's not like a shield set or like Dragonair has like an ally protection set. Like, so they actually kind of add skills with gear. That could make it more interesting, maybe. That could change the way you build.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that's one of the things that's missing is because the sets mostly boil down to a percentage damage increase. So whatever one provides the most damage increase is the one you'll use. So I really like the ones that change how the hero functions. Okay,
that's fair. All right, I think let's go on to another big topic with games here, PvP. So I think the arena is really boring. And I think that's one thing you said in your videos before. Like, I just don't care. I do like 2 of these a day and I close it unless I have to for an event. I don't... Yeah, so it kind of sets you up. This is going to be so bad. I'm going to lose. I'm just going to play one in the background and I'll probably lose to the lowest... Even though I have double their power, I'm going to lose. But there's different types of arena. Like, this is the anti-air, and then there's like a sustain one. But I don't find it fun because you're not like engaging with your opponent.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a really interesting problem as well because of the nature of a tower defense game. It's built to be player versus enemy, right? So how do you do it player versus
True.
player? I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, why can't we fight each other like we do in Raid or something?" But I don't think it would work because they would have to rebalance the entire thing, scale them differently, build them like it would be an entire overhaul to the system to make it, be different. Because if your Salazar's critting 200k, then everyone dies instantly. So I don't know how they're going to actually align that
Yeah,
out.
that's true. It is. It's definitely different. I've never done a PvP mode like this, so I guess there's that. It's different. Yeah, it's like
think
who can protect their crystal the longest or the best. It's super different.
I think it's a bit more, and maybe this would be surprising. I think it's a bit more fun now than it will be in a month.
Yeah.
Because everyone, or all of the higher ranked players, will have Hatset, Vienna, and Salazar. And if you go into one of the arenas without those heroes for the respective day, you will get absolutely slaughtered. It's just a complete whitewash. There's no chance. And it's for me, I've never had a Hatset. My last account, this account, I've never had a Hatset, and you just lose. It's so hard to fight a Hatset.
That's Raid Shadow Legends as well. There's definitely the meta, and the meta's always changing.
Yeah.
So if you don't have the counter to the perfect teams, or like there's certain people that are just super broken, and they're like the harder ones to get. But yeah, there's like it seems like no matter what, there's pretty much one answer. Or if you look at Platinum Arena rankings, everyone has the same team at the top. It's like
Yeah, exactly.
even though that game has almost 800 characters, it's still that way.
That's crazy. And it's a huge community, so people are testing everything, I assume, as well.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's definitely a little bit of variety, so to speak, but there's always someone that comes out, or some set that comes out like Stone Skin, that changes the meta, and then you have to do this one method or else you can't win. It's kind of like, for the top at least. Of course, it can be fun and interesting in the middle stages, because you're battling other people that are in the middle stages that have a mixture of stuff. But if you want to be the best or be in the top, it's like, this is the answer for now. It's going to change in a month probably, but this is the answer for now.
I think some of the arenas are better than others. I think Group Arena is one of the most diverse.
Because I lose.
I like it. No, never mind. I don't like this arena week either. I'm not attacking.
Oh yeah, they're all.
But yeah, I think Group Arena has some interesting teams. Because on Forerunner, I ran a really weird team, and I had a lot of success. But with the single target and anti-air especially, there's not a lot of variety.
Interesting. Yeah, anti-air headset. Go figure.
Yeah. It's impossible.
Oh man. So one thing I would love this game to figure out, just like Raid finally did after I had quit playing, is the real-time arena. I played an interesting style of real-time arena in Everlegion as well, where you kind of it doesn't matter who's on your account. It's you have like an X amount of coins, and you can buy heroes that pop up, and you have to put together a team with X amount of coins each round, and you can substitute people in and sell them, and everyone has the same pool of champions, but they randomize what shows up. And so it don't matter if you're day 1 or day 200 and whatever, you can have the exact same experience as someone else in a live setting. And they auto fight each other, but it's based on how do you choose team synergy, which buffs do you choose as well, and it's just a really creative thing. I've never seen anything like that. Does that sound familiar at all to you in any other games?
It sounds cool though. So you're completely the same. Like you can't impact your arena team. You're both using a shared pool.
Yeah, it's like the same. So there's one big pool of heroes, and there's like every round there's like 6 people that show up, and you could pay to refresh and have different ones show up. And then when you start a certain section of the rounds, you get to choose a buff, and it's based on the weakest player to the best player picking a buff. So you have to choose the right kind of team buffs, faction buffs. So it's like have to figure out fitting like a team synergy with characters that you might have never played with before. But that's also kind of fun because it gives you a chance to kind of see how they work. I don't know. It was really clever. And I thought that was fun to have some sort of PvP that gives everyone an even chance, no matter if you're a Kraken or a brand new free-to-play player. You all have the same chance if you just learn the game and experiment.
Yeah, that's cool. I like it, but I feel like it's slightly counterintuitive to gacha, right? They want you to wail to win in arena.
Well, there was still normal arena too, but I found that to be a fun
Okay, sure,
little
yeah.
bonus mode, yeah.
That's cool. I played there's a really little game. I think it just came out into open beta called Towers and Titans, I believe. And they had a live arena as well. I think it was their only arena type is live arena. And it functions the same as Water of Realms in a way, but it is different in an interesting way. So you have two lanes, and the enemies will move down both lanes. Well, they'll move down one lane, and when you kill them in the first lane, they respawn on the enemy's side in their second lane. So if you kill your lane faster, you overrun the enemy.
Okay.
So you're kind of like racing each other to kill your lanes and to kill the ones that are spawning from him killing your ones. And
Are
yeah,
you
it's just
live
kind of,
making decisions or no?
yeah, it's live.
Yeah, it
You're
really
both
was
playing each other live.
everything. Because remember, like, Dragonair tried to do live arena? That was not live at all.
Oh, is it not? I didn't see this. I dropped out quite quick.
So, Dragonair did their version of real time arena, and all you did was choose your heroes, and then you just let them go. Zero choice on when to use an ultimate, when to, like. So there was like, what's so live about it? You're just like you choose a few people. All you're doing is counteracting who the other person places, but you can't even see what they place for some of it. So it's like, what's the point? You're just setting in your best defense and you're just hitting play the same as classic arena. So I'm really hoping
that doesn't sound live at all.
it wasn't live at all. But I definitely like raid system, which is the same as Awaken Chaos era, with the idea of, all right, you choose, they choose, you choose, they choose, ban someone, choose someone else, or there's a ban at the beginning.
The Summoners War as well.
Okay, it's fun as long as there's a timer on it, because it can be very time consuming, and also as long as it's not required daily.
Yeah,
right.
Completely agree.
Okay.
I played it on Summoners War, and I didn't like it personally. I thought it was. Yeah, I wasn't big on the PvP in these games. I've always like, if I'm not spending, I don't really want to get too heavy into it. I don't mind casually doing it, but in the live arenas especially, it feels like you're just getting slapped by whales. So I thought I'll just not. So it's nice that you don't have to do it.
Yeah, I guess. Well, speaking of whales, let's just talk about spending packs now. So I click on the Golden Dragon Pass. I never played Summoner's War. I kind of wish I did, just to have that reference, but I know a lot of Raid Shadow Legends was based on it, so I'm sure it would all feel familiar anyway.
Yeah, it sounds like exactly the same systems.
So all these gacha games are free to play, right? Free to play, pay to win, but it's all about the complaints where people go kind of like with Dragonair's initial beta launch was, is it fun to play free to play is the real question. Like, does a game feel generous enough to get you excited to get rolling in the beginning? And that's, I think, where the free to play versus pay to win excitement is, right? Like, I think this game is pretty good about giving you enough stuff to play with for summons, or the diamonds you can choose what to do with them. So I think the game is actually pretty good, whether you want to, if you want to whale, you can whale and have a ton of fun hitting those leaderboards and blasting the guild boss at level 4 already. But if you don't want to whale, you can just progress slower, and there's plenty to do.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's an interesting one, because on my comments, at least, I see basically a complete divide. 50% of people are like, I'm so lucky, I'm having a great time, I've got all these amazing legendaries, and then the other 50% are, I've done 300 summons and I have this one guy I really don't like. And I think it's, I guess it's the curse of gacha and like luck-based systems. There's always going to be a percentage of players who get hammered by the luck, and it's just not going to be very enjoyable. And it might not be a big percentage, but it will still be a load of players that will fall into that category. And I think it's very unpleasant to be in that category.
That's really true. Like the one I made a video on, because I was like, how is this account real? It was like 9 legendaries on this free-to-play player's account that's never even pulled 1 legendary crystal yet. And he only had 180 summons. And I'm like, what?
That's crazy.
It didn't even feel real. Like, I was like, there's no way you didn't buy some legendary crystals in there and sneak some in, right? He was like, no. But it's true. And then, like, today, it's so all over the place, so it's kind of hard. Some people, like you said, are going to be pissed off because they had bad luck personally, but then other people are like, this game's the most generous game I've ever played because I got 7 legendaries already.
Yeah, it's hard because there's not much you could really say if someone gets that unlucky. It's just that's the way
Yeah.
it went. Like, sorry.
It's true. It's hard to defend it because you're like, well, at the end of the day, this is what the pity is, and it does kind of suck, but who knows what your
Yeah,
next luck
exactly.
is gonna be.
I think everyone joins these games hoping to be the lucky person, but obviously, on average, you're not going to be.
So this is actually funny what I'm on right now, the chain pack. This is a very rip-off for Raid Shadow Legends right here. They have these chain packs too, where it's like you can see the first, and then you can't see what's in the middle, but you could see the end. Exactly the same.
And the middle ones are always overcharged, right? To try and bait you into going for the end.
Sometimes they're actually amazing, and that's what's funny. But usually there's someone that puts out all the info, you know. There's always like a guy that makes a video on it. There's like Smiley. TK would always do the offer reviews, which was really helpful. So you could be like, all right, what does Smiley say about this before I buy it? He had his own little calculator and system and kind of decide what's good value. Is that something you're thinking of figuring out doing for your website? Because having some sort of offer calculator to see, okay, this is what the value of this crystal is. This is how much this should be. Like, kind of having a monetized, you know, offer calculator.
Yeah, it's a clever idea, actually. I hadn't considered it. I think people are starting to make spreadsheets on it to kind of break down what the value is, but it's they have someone pointed out that they have these like value setter packs, or they'll introduce loads of packs that are deliberately rubbish just so that your estimation of what the value actually is a bit higher, so they can justify the prices. I've only been slightly tempted on the global server just because it's you know, you can make some videos and you can show people some more summons which people seem to enjoy, but for myself I never like to buy packs. It feels like a very short road to disappointment.
I do have to say, I like the monthly card stuff, but I hate the fact that the price increases after you buy it once. So I'm going to buy each of them once and then never again, is my plan.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, like, the privilege card is cool.
Very good.
Because all that extra bonuses is going to add up eventually.
Yeah, it's annoying that it's so good, to be honest.
And then the Battle Pass is fun. I think the Battle Pass is worth it. That's something, I'm a sucker for a Battle Pass. Any game that has a Battle Pass, I'm buying it. Unless I know when it's absolutely terrible. But that's like the one thing I'm like first thing I'm going to buy. If it's there, I'm buying it, bottom up. What do you think? Do you think it's okay?
I'm not a fan of microtransactions in games, honestly, which is silly because I'm playing Watcher of Realms.
Yeah.
But yeah. But Battle Pass is, yeah, I don't know. I'm not typically a fan of them. But I don't like to spend on these things, so I'm not really a good target audience. I think this one, though, compared to the rest of the stuff in the game, is one of the better value things you could buy if you were going to buy, because it does have a lot of extra good perks in it.
It really does. Like that's how I got my first piece of mythic gear on my account was the Battle Pass, not my grind. And then I just got some mythic. Like I wouldn't have these yet. I ain't farming that high and ancient. Yeah, I just got those, so I wouldn't have that. I mean, I'm sure I'm just gonna get a terrible piece, but you know.
You should do it.
Oh my gosh. So
I want to see.
Oh yeah, forging. Where the hell do we go for that? Artifact.
See the bottom one, artifact. Yeah. Come on.
Oh yeah. So wait, we're not guaranteed a mythic from that, are we? No.
No, it's horrible. It's a 20% chance for a mythic.
Let's see what we get.
Hey, that's good.
Ah! You brought me luck.
Congrats, that's really good. That's good.
Expect, but you know what? Today has been a very good day. Everything overall today, except for my power going out and making me worried again. It's been a really good day overall. My summons were insane. And yeah, there we go. There we go. Wait, what direction? This direction. Pointing. I don't know where I'm pointing. Okay, that makes me really happy. Now who the hell's gonna get that? I don't have. Oh, wow.
Do you have a Salazar?
No.
I can't remember. The good news is...
so with bleeding, but I use people's Salazars all the time, so I can put that on like a Wrath or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Or Demos.
Also, the mythic accessories just have way better base stats than the legendary ones anyway.
That's true. Even just for that extra stat bonus period, it's going to be really helpful.
I'm just going to summon these... 5% chance.
5% chance. That's like live
They're really
summoning.
Generous with these ones.
Child of Trees, that's new. That's what, okay. Yep, that sums it up. Oh,
Is that how mine goes?
We tried. All right, so final note, I think, of this topic of just general comparisons that I think is really funny, especially compared to Raid Shadow Legends. Now, the battle system is completely different. It's tower defense.
Oh, yeah,
That's
that's
kind of a
one.
big difference. just maybe a little different. Oh man, so I have to admit, and you've said this and I kind of responded, because I was one of those people that I heard tower defense and I said, no thanks,
Right, yeah.
next. I don't even know why. It just like got in your head. I got in my head that I saw like Arc Knights and like, or some other games. I'm like, that doesn't look that interesting to me. Nah, I'm good. And I just thought it would just look weird or too complicated. And so I avoided it. But once I started playing this, every day I appreciated it more and more and more. And at first I'm like, oh shit, this is so hands-on. Like you can't just click set an auto battle and set a battle and walk away, only when you're the point of autoing to grind. That I was worried if I was gonna think it's too much, but I like the challenge. I think it's fun figuring out every new board and the different placement strategies and the synergies between the characters. And I think it's a lot better than I expected.
Yeah, it's interesting. Because I played some of the other gachas. I've never played a tower defense like this before. This is the first one I ever played. And I was interested because I'd not heard of one like this. I'd heard Arc Knights, but I wasn't too keen on the art style, so I didn't really give it a fair chance. I never tried it. But yeah, a lot of people seem to be put off by it, which is completely fair. I didn't know exactly why, but when I made the video and I got some good comments, including yours, which enlightened me a bit, it seems a lot of people are concerned about it being a bit too heavy and too active compared to turn-based games, because these are mobile games at the end of the day, right? You want to be able to progress casually.
And like a lot of people, I feel like we like Raid Shadow Legends because it's passive. Like you can just semi be working on something while you're doing something else. And this if you're progressing campaign, you got to be on it every second, making those decisions. Yeah. You can't look away. You can't but of course, once you get done with the bulk of content, then it's mostly just in maintenance mode, right? Or like temporary stuff or new content. So I think it's just going to be that beginning phase that might feel overwhelming for people. Right? Does it get a little bit more just chill once you get rolling, you think?
So it's interesting. I think for me, the thing that really hooked me with the game was you can punch way above your belt if you're clever with stuff. And that's kind of why I started doing the channel and making videos, was because I like to try and find ways to get around problems. But if you see some of the Gear Raid 2 videos I put out for 19 and 21, it's just ridiculous. The amount of fiddling and placing, and it's so hard to get it to work. Even with like the best heroes in the game, you still need to time everything really precisely. And I think Gear Raid 2 is going to upset some people because it is a bit too tough on the timings. And I play it on a PC.
Hard. The sandstorm gets me.
Yeah.
You really got to have some survivability. It just adds in new elements. Quite hard.
When you get hit by the Shriek in stage 19 onwards, it's crazy. It just one-shots your entire team if you don't prepare for it in some way.
Makes sense. But yeah, I think you've heard the same feedback as I felt. Is a lot of us were like, tower defense, but people are like, I don't normally like tower defense, but I like this game, right? That's very commonly said. I see that everywhere. So Raid Shadow Legends players, give it a chance. Just give it a chance before you judge it. God damn it.
For sure, yeah. No, loads of people have said, I was skeptical, or it was going to be like a side game, but now it's become their main game. So it's an interesting change. Definitely, yeah. It's good to have you. It's great to see the community growing and bringing all of those good guys over as well.
Yeah, it's growing so fast. This is the first game, so I guess on the topic of the game growing, I have not had any of the games I've played grow this well, except for Eternal Evolution could be sort of an example of that, as far as seeing a boost in interest in views and stuff immediately at global launch. But that was all Hell Hades. Hell Hades brought the people for that one, and he was actively playing it. But if Hell Hades did not play that game, it would not have had the success it had. I 100% can. I felt Hell Hades' impact with Summoner's Glory. We brought him into Summoner's Glory, and I was a bad influence. I was like, hey, join my server. Because you can actually interact and do runs with each other. I was like, so I want to play with my friends. And I'm like, hell, he just be on my server. We could do runs together. And he did, but they told him to join another server, and he crashed the servers because they couldn't handle the load of people he brought in.
Wow, that's
The
crazy.
game was just like not playable for a while because Hell 80's brought in too many people to the server.
It must be a nice problem to have for the developers.
Oh, it was funny. Yeah, but he brought the people to Eternal Evolution, where this game competes with Raid in marketing as well, right? The marketing, they're doing really good. They're doing so much, and that's good to see. I think it's really important because bringing in new players constantly, once the hype of global launch is over, then what? That's the real question. Can they keep new players constantly coming in? If not, it's just going to fade and die like everything else.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how they keep that train going. So a lot of people are going to be hitting the mid to end game soon, and they're going to want to, a lot of people. There's waves, right? There's all these new gachas coming out. People like the launch week hype and the big parade that we get. So I think eventually we'll need to see if it does has staying power.
Yeah. I hope so. It seems like it really does have potential. There's so much more to you could compare, but my goodness, yeah. Overall, I think my summary of this compared to other games is it's by far my favorite and most engaging of every Raid competitor I've played so far. So I definitely think compared to Raid, I'm having a lot of people tell me they just like this better, that they find it more fun than Raid. But that could just be people like me that quit Raid and are like, meh.
I guess the people who prefer Raid are just playing Raid, but I get the same comments.
But it's great. I think it's solid. I think it's a better option. I don't think there's anything called a Raid killer out there. Raid is going to kill itself if it fails, because it's not going to be one game comes in and swoops in and no one plays Raid anymore. I don't think that's ever the case, but I definitely think this game is a solid competitor compared to everything else so far. What do you think?
Yeah, completely agree. I think it's for people who enjoy Raid but probably are looking for something a bit different. I feel like this is a game that shines in that area. I don't think you have to try and beat Raid on its own home turf. I think it's a very big market, and there's a lot of space for two games to coexist, and obviously many, many more. So I think it's a good entrant. I think it's good to have stuff like this appearing.
I also think this and Dragonair are going to go very well together. Because Dragonair, yeah, you can grind a bit of story in the beginning, but once you just kind of maintain your day-to-day, it's very quick. There's not much energy, it's limited summoning, you just do a few commissions and grind out a few runs and you're kind of done. It's very short, you can be done for the day in 20 minutes pretty easily in that game. Dragonair could be the side chick to this main game.
I think it's interesting as well, because the people we see, and obviously us, we're obviously a lot more hardcore than a lot of mobile gamers might be. So there's going to be a huge amount of people who are more casual and who are looking for exactly what Dragonair offers. So I think it's definitely got a good space.
Yeah, I feel like people that don't like how time-consuming Raid Shadow Legends is might appreciate Dragonair. Yeah, if you're just looking for that game to play 30 minutes to 2 hours at most, probably, a day, depending on if you work on your account and you're leveling gear and changing stuff. And I feel like that is a pretty perfect game for some people. I don't think it's what we expected. We expected it to be a true Raid replacement. The crazy thing you could spend all day in. And it wasn't what we expected, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It just might not be what some people were looking for.
For sure. Completely agree, yeah.
The answer is just play them all.
Infinite time.
All right, well, we're gonna... Okay, so guys, I didn't say that at all in this video, which I don't know how I didn't start with that, but you guys already know if you're on my channel. My bucket here has an amazing website resource tier list that we literally reference on a daily basis. And I mean, you know what I have to do, right? My ship, my crew, my bucket.
Beautiful. I still have that. I need to put that on my website.
Yeah, so my ship, my crew, my bucket. That's forever
I'm
Maureen.
going to hide that on my website. You'll see.
All right, but yeah, I always link his website in the comments below, in the description below, because it's just a really good resource for anyone that's new starting to play this, especially just to have a general idea if someone's worthy to build or not. It's people need tier lists. It's people can criticize tier lists as being oh, it's just one person's opinion, or I don't follow a tier list by the law. But when you start a new game, you just need to have some sort of idea of what the hell is good or not, and yours is wonderful, so thank you for working so hard on your wonderful website.
Thank you for supporting and helping me out as I kind of began my journey. I appreciate it.
Always, always. But yeah, all right. This is a long video, guys. Thank you for those that are still listening. And make sure you head on over to my Buckets channel for another collab where we're going to do a little bit of sort of coaching, helping, progression, maybe talk some gear raids. So join us over there, and I'll see you in the next video.